Well, hey everyone, welcome. You are listening to the Super Chill Podcast. I am sitting in. This is my first time in the red chair.
Oh man,
the golden
Welcome.
mic
Welcome.
at the head of the
Welcome.
table.
Oh.
Our normal host, Pastor Joel Filkey, has allowed me to sit over here in the control chair with my amigos
been
over here,
demoted.
Chris.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, demoted. Got the one and only with us today, the one and only Rick Duncan
Yeah, yeah.
from
Welcome, Rick.
NACNID
Welcome,
Studios.
Richard
And
Duncan.
All right.
been wanting to get him on here, but before we get to that, the weather has been a little crazy. A lot of overcast.
Changing a little bit. Yeah,
Overcast again.
I personally, as California, we're a little bit spoiled. We have good weather most of the year. We don't have to do the snow and the
Right.
ice. But I'll tell you what, I do love the rain, and
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
hoping to get a little bit more rain before the summer comes.
Well,
Yeah, me
tomorrow,
too.
if I looked it up, tomorrow was supposed to be like 88 degrees or close to 90
On
degrees
Friday.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to get a little
Tomorrow.
hotter every day, but I was just surprised because we have this heat wave, and this week the forecast has been, cloudy every day, and
Yeah.
today again
Yeah.
we've got a little bit of overcast. But great day to be alive,
Absolutely.
and
Oh, yeah,
man, I
buddy.
don't know how many people got a chance to listen to also on Tuesday
Tuesday night, that was awesome.
with Glenn Woodward was nuts.
Yeah, that
Phenomenal.
was
That was
awesome.
the craziest thing. Shout
Phenomenal.
out to Glenn and say thanks
Thanks,
for that.
Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
So much we don't know about the people we work with, as in the case today, sitting on this set with the one and only Rick Duncan.
Yeah.
And of course, Rick and I, when did we meet? Did we meet through B Antolon? How did we meet?
Yes. Ain't B.
Yeah, and
Really?
B.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, B Antolon.
That was in the 80s,
Yes.
huh?
You remember that project? She's probably watching right now.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one of the first albums I ever did, was B's album, yeah.
Wow.
kidding.
And
Yeah.
what year was that? Do you remember?
It had to be 1984.
1984. And
Yeah.
that was around the same time you had a lot of other well-known guys coming through there.
Yep.
And I remember B telling me, you got to meet this guy. And I think you and I also connected, and folks that are local here will understand this music box.
Right, right.
That's got, we can't, honorable
34
mention.
years.
Honorable
He has
mention.
been working in the music store, was working in that music store for what, 20, 30 years?
34.
34
As
years.
a kid, that's
Wow.
how I knew him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was back when we were using real tape.
Don't touch that bass, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I was just getting ready to say,
right.
my earliest memories of Rick is don't touch that.
Yeah.
Put that back.
I can remember.
He still tells me that when I'm on the drums. Put that, I'm working in the studio. Don't touch that. Put that
I
back.
can remember we would go as kids, like we'd go with Bishop or my dad or something, and we would have to get this pep talk, like before we went to music, like when you go in there, don't say anything, don't touch anything.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Rick.
He will set you down.
He will.
Well, you know the reason for that, though, is because of all of the kids would come in, they would treat it like a playroom.
Absolutely.
You know?
Right.
And all these instruments that were worth all these thousands of dollars. And,
Right.
and Rick was kind of one of the head guys down there, I guess, working with Granny.
Yep.
And is Granny still with us, by the way?
She is. She's way retired, but she and her husband I don't know how old she is, but her husband's 96.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And
Who's
she's
Granny?
not too
For
far
people who
behind
don't
him.
know.
Yeah.
People don't know
The
who
original Music Box owner and Robinson Feed in Lodi and all that.
Wow.
Oh,
Robinson
listen,
Feed.
that place has some history, by the way.
Yeah.
Robinson Feed.
Oh,
Did
man.
you guys know that the way that came about was they actually, in the early days, there was an evangelist coming through, and that feed store, somehow or another, they opened up that feed store for this evangelist and had a revival, and thousands of people were saved in that feed store
Really?
that Music Box is in right now.
Right.
That's crazy. So the family name, remind me again, Granny's.
Robinson. She was
Robinson.
Robinson. She was mayor of Lodi for 2 terms, and her father, W.J., was mayor in the 20s and 30s.
Wow.
Interesting.
And
Really
you guys are like family, of course, over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So the history. So a lot of folks would know you from Music Box, but today we wanted to get into some stuff that a lot of people don't know about you, like we did with Glenn. And so we're going to get all up in your business today.
Oh, boy.
First of all,
Oh, boy.
tell us, are you married?
Sure.
All right, and tell us about your wife, her name, and
I'm married to Jackie, and
I
she's
love
a school
Jackie.
teacher in Elk Grove.
Cool.
She's a great lady, and she's a really good singer,
She
too.
can sing.
She's
yeah.
a
You know,
great
That's
singer.
that's how I met her.
really.
She was hired, I believe, to do background vocals for somebody, and she came in the studio, and I went,
Ching.
Yeah.
Wow, and she's pretty. You know, she looks to me. She looks like Natalie Wood to me a little bit. Has she
Me
heard
too.
that before?
I've said that
That's
to her.
actually,
Yeah.
She's got
And-
those Natalie Wood eyes.
And of course, I had the blessing of marrying you guys.
You
and-
were our pastor.
Right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
I
doing
didn't
the
know that
ceremony.
I knew
but
that.
Wine and roses.
I
Yep.
didn't know that
I knew
either.
that.
Lot of people don't know that Jackie sings. She has a terrific
Phenomenal
voice,
voice.
and a lot of people do not know because they see Rick on sound or whatever playing the bass. They do not know that this guy does like 6-part harmony.
Oh, yeah.
Take Chris out of it.
sorry.
Take Chris out of it. We would have had
I wasn't
that right.
expecting it. Sorry.
Why didn't somebody hit the
He
mute button?
doesn't usually do vocals.
I'm
It's
gonna-
okay.
This is
Oh,
true.
This is why
Yeah,
I'm a-
this is
why I'm a
true, yeah.
musician. No, one time I was at the studio. We were doing some recording, and Rick showed me a couple tracks. He showed me a track that Jackie did. I think it was Time After Time, right?
Yeah.
And she did all the parts to it, and it was beautiful. And
Yeah.
he also showed me a track that Rick did that had like 12-part harmony, and Rick did every single one of the harmonies.
Yeah.
And I remember
Take
asking him,
6.
how long did that take?
Took a few minutes.
But Rick could sing too.
Yeah,
Unlike me, as you could tell.
So everyone that has been watching our programs, I should say everyone, a lot of people caught our Good Friday live cast on Good Friday out of NACNUD Studios. And for those of you that don't know about NACNUD, let's start there real quickly. Tell us the history of NACNUD Studios.
Well, if I go even before that, I think it's kind of interesting before that because I used to work in my parents' backyard. They had a room out in back, and I had a little 4-track machine, and that went on for years.
Really?
And I was learning everything that I seemed to know there.
Wow.
And one day, a gentleman came to me and said, will you do my record? And I said, no, I quit. I've done everything I could possibly do on a 4-track, and I give up. I'm bored.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what would it take to get you to record it? And I just laughed, and I said, buy me a new console and an 8-channel machine. And he goes, go find one.
No kidding.
wow.
Wow. Can you say who that is over the air? Or
I
prefer
don't
not
remember
to?
his name.
Oh.
It was an angel.
It was 36 years ago. And so I went over to the Bay Area, found the gear, and I told him how much it was. He goes, buy it and then make my record. I said,
Wow.
okay. So we went back to the house and started wiring everything in. It took us about a month to wire it in. And we fired everything up, and the next door neighbor said, no, that's it. No. I've been
Too loud.
I've had some health issues, and I can't have this anymore.
Wow.
And I did the do kind of thing, right?
Right.
So a friend of mine had this beautiful place out in a ranch out in Lodi, and I asked him if I could use his spare room, which was a game room and a garage. And he says, yeah, sure. I told him why. And so it took us about a month, and we finished the project. And he came back out and said, you want to stay?
Wow.
This is how much the rent will be. You want to stay? Well, that was 34 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
34. Now,
Oh, yeah.
I think I remember that 8-track.
Yeah, it was around for a little while.
It seems to me that we might have recorded the author on that first. Oh, no, it was some of the other projects we were doing.
Yes.
Because after I met you, we started doing demos. Remember, I was
Right.
working for someone. They gave me a budget. We were doing jingles and writing songs for their team, and I was coming to you, and we were recording those. Was that on that 8-track?
Probably the early stuff, it was anywhere 84, 85, it was 8-track. Yeah.
Wow. And so
Wow.
for those of you that are not familiar with NACNUD Studios, this actually, even though it's out in the country, I call it the Muscle Shoals of Northern California, is one of the coolest
Yes.
ambiance, coolest studios in the area. And a lot of people in the Bay Area know about it. A lot
yeah.
of folks here in the city know about it, but not everybody knows about what you've done and some of the people you've had out there. So I want to just jump right in. First of all, before we go to the studio, let's move away from that for a second. You told me a story about your grandfather. You not only play the string bass, but you also play for the Stockton Symphony. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been playing upright bass since I was a kid. My first introduction was at junior high school, and there was a note that came over to our class that said, send your 2 best kids. So they sent me and Stan Conley. There, see, I can remember some things.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, Doris Byrne was staying here with this instrument like this. She said, would you guys like to try this? And I said, "Are you going to give them one of those to us?" And she goes, "Yes." And I said, "I'm in."
Wow.
Why'd
So-
you choose that one?
That's what she had standing there.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
it was a bass. It wasn't a cello. If it would have been a cello, I would have said, "Yeah, I'm going to play cello."
Okay, yeah.
So you were almost a clarinet player then.
Yeah. right.
Yeah.
It just
Could have
depends on
been.
the-
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
Could have been.
Almost,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, could have been. Yeah.
So
There you go.
that was the day I started. And to talk about my grandfather, who was the Italian side of the family, my best friend as a kid. We used to hang out and do everything together, go to the bank, go play bocce, whatever it was. We did it, cooked food. And he always used to say to me, he's Italian, born in Genova, he says, "Rick, this music thing, I don't think that's good for you. Why don't you get a job at the post office?" And, and I said, no, you don't understand.
So
love
he
this."
was not for you playing.
Not really.
Was he just kind of listening to you play here and there and thought it was just a hobby, probably?
Yeah, you cannot do this. You're going to be broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no money in it.
Don't do this. This is no good. No
You're gonna be
pension,
a
no
broke.
nothing. Yeah. And this went on for years. And I got a scholarship to study with Phil Karp and the San Francisco Symphony.
Wow.
And this was before I could drive. And we used to go over there. He'd take me over there. He'd pay for the lesson too,
Wow.
which back then $50 for a lesson was a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to, the North Beach and have a nice pasta thing, come back. This went on for a couple of years, and I'll never forget my grandfather's look when he looked in the house in San Francisco, and he was going, "How can he afford this?" I could just hear him saying that.
Were you living in Frisco then?
No,
No.
No. living in Stockton. And so it went on and on and on, and it was about time for me to go back east to school. And my teacher said, "I found a bass for you." Because I can't use a school instrument anymore. Anyway, we went down to Cremona Violin Shops in the heart of San Francisco, and I played the bass. And I'm thinking, this is gorgeous. I don't have this kind of money. And my grandfather looked at Phil, my bass teacher, and he says, "What do you think of this Rickett? Can do this?" And he goes, "He's doing fine." He said I would back him if I had the opportunity.
Wow.
And he went over to the counter, took out his checkbook, and I followed him. He wrote the check out, pulled it out, slid it across the counter, and looked at me and says, "No more post office."
Wow. Wow.
That's a great
So he
story.
bought that was an expensive bass, as I remember.
Yeah, it's
it.
about an 1850 French instrument.
Wow. What's it worth today? Just curiosity. Do you know?
Insurance has got to be up over 40 grand, something like that.
That's
Wow,
phenomenal.
crazy.
So your grandfather saw your heart, that you really loved music, and he bought it for you. That's phenomenal.
And you've made a living. Very few people have done this in music, between the studio and playing. And one of the great things I want to talk about today also, too, is you actually travel and play with the Johnny Cash Review. That's James Garner,
James
right?
Garner, yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that and what's going on with that these days. And not now, but in terms of before now.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the crowds got dispersed, we were actually climbing in some popularity, national popularity. So that was kind of cool because we've been to recently
There you go.
Nashville
Oh, yeah.
and
got
Atlanta.
pictures of it there. Yeah.
There
Johnny.
they are.
He kind of looks like Johnny, doesn't he? Look at that. Where was that at?
That's in Southern California. There's about 15,000 people at that show.
That's great, man.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it started out small and got bigger, and now we're doing national audiences. So it's a lot of fun.
Johnny, tell me about Garner. He's an interesting guy because he's like basically all about Johnny Cash, like from the time he was a young man, right, or something?
Yeah, he was probably standing in front of his mirror when he was 10 with a guitar going, "I love Johnny Cash," the kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because he knows everything.
Hello.
I mean, he knows all the stories.
He
I know
knows-
we had remember everyone went and saw Rick.
Yeah, a bunch of our church and
yeah.
choir went to see that show. Yeah, it's fun.
And that he remembered so many different stories, and he incorporates that into you guys'
In
shows.
the show. That's neat.
Where some of the places you guys have played and stuff.
This is how much he knows. We just went to Nashville and went to the Johnny Cash Museum, and when the curator found out we were there, he started following us around. And he goes, "I'm going to give you a private tour of this place."
Wow.
And we got to one place, and Jim says, "You're going to have to change the label on this picture." He said at the Folsom concert, he said the rehearsal was in South Sacramento, not Modesto.
Oh wow.
So please change that for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
So
is
he-
in the museum.
so he
This is
knew
at the Johnny
be-
Cash
be-
Museum. Yeah.
better history than they did,
Mhm.
and he does really sound a lot like
him, yeah.
Johnny Cash.
The group played the 40th anniversary of the concert in Folsom Prison.
That's cool, man.
Now, was
So-
it the concert at Folsom or was it San
It-
Quentin where
It was in Folsom. And
a particular famous person was an inmate and heard Johnny Cash sing and is now
that was in San Quentin
Yeah,
the
San
next
Quentin,
year,
okay.
and it was Merle Haggard.
Merle Haggard?
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh,
Merle
yeah.
Haggard.
Never
was-
heard
yeah.
that.
He
Oh
was
yeah,
an-
Merle
yeah.
Haggard,
So-
Northern California boy.
He was
So
an inmate.
Merle Haggard was locked up and
At
heard
San
Johnny
Quentin.
Cash.
Yeah, it was in the
live.
second or third row.
Didn't
Yep.
know that.
Yep.
And when he got out,
Yeah.
he determined he was going to play music.
That's
and
neat.
Yeah.
Yep.
the rest
We
is
did
history.
the 50th anniversary of the Folsom show in Folsom, and one of Johnny Cash's daughters sang with us, and it
Wow.
was pretty cool.
Well, that's
Pretty
crazy. So you've performed all over. What are some of the highlights you can remember performing with that, with the review in terms of places and some of your favorite memories from that?
Well, the Washington, D.C. area was great, and the Deep South was awesome. It was the first time we played there.
a lot of
and
Johnny Cash fans up
a
in
lot
the
of
South,
Johnny
no
Cash
doubt about
fans,
it.
and they announced the owner of the theater announced that we've got a group from California. I'm thinking, now we're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
Left
yeah.
coast,
Wish you
brother.
wouldn't have opened with that. huh?
Yeah.
Left Coast, brother.
So we want you to know that this is their first trip below the Mason-Dixon line, and give them a great welcome, standing ovation.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I
Wow.
thought these people are nice. And
That's
then
cool.
they requested a song. I don't know if you're familiar with the Flag song that Johnny Cash does. I forget what
Yeah, I
it's
think
called.
so. Yeah, I think
This
I've heard
Old
it, yeah.
Flag, or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry,
Mhm.
I don't remember the title of it because we only played it that one time. We learned it in the sound check and then played it, and it's a very poignant song about the way our flag has been treated since it's come into existence. About halfway through the song, the flag comes down from behind us, standing ovation again. And I thought, these people are great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like here. It's the California and Washington. It's different attitude.
Okay, so we love California. We to make it
No,
plain.
that's
we
different.
love the West Coast, but here's the fact.
Yes.
Let's be honest. I've traveled. We just took you kids back to Nashville and vacationed every year. And let's be honest. People are really seem to be a lot friendlier back there in the South.
California is a lot
Tennessee,
faster.
especially.
California is a lot faster, and they can also be a tough crowd. There's a lot of talent out here. It's a little different, but
Yeah.
We have everything in this state.
you
We
know,
sure
we
do.
do. Kind of
Some stuff we don't want.
Yeah.
We have some stuff we
Kinda
don't
spoiled.
want.
But it's something
here.
I've heard quite a bit from people that moved from the South down here. They've said that often. They said, California's just got a different vibe to it.
Yeah.
Very different.
So you've had a lot of players work out at your studio at NACNUD Studio, and you have tell us a bit about the studio right now, like present day, what it offers, and all the things that you're doing right now. And then we're going to start touching on some history, because a lot of folks, there's some things that folks need to really hear today, some stories about you that are really cool stories.
Well, the studio's average size room, and it's got a lot of capabilities as far as what you can record in it. It's a nice room. It's a good sounding room.
Yeah.
It's gone through tape. It's gone through digital tape, and now it's into the Pro Tools, digital formats. And some of the capabilities of that are tremendous.
Yeah.
We've got a nice mic selection to pull off. All the things that we want. Nice mic preamp selection to pull off the things that need to be done on a professional level. And that's all good.
Oh yeah, they got that mic up.
Oh,
That's
there
the
it is,
mic
yeah.
I call that the infamous mic. That's the Frank Sinatra mic. That's the mic that he sang on. Is that correct?
He has sung on that. The quick story of that, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name right now, but I got a phone call one day that said, I got a mic for sale, and Doc from Tower Power said you might be interested in it.
Doc from, wait a minute, you just said that so casually. Doc
Doc
from,
Kupka, the Barry
Tower
sax
of
player.
Power,
Yeah,
wow.
one of the main writers.
yeah.
And he said, you might be interested in it. And I said, well, what is it? And he says, well, it's a Newman. And I'm going, he's reading that. He doesn't know what it is. 87. And I said, oh, you mean it's a Neumann U87? And he goes, yeah, that's it. And I said, yeah, those are great mics. I'd be interested in it, but they're all older generally, and I'd like to try it. And he
Yeah.
goes, okay, sure, I'll send it out to you. And he sent it out. I tried it. He called me, and I said, yeah, I'd love to have it.
Didn't he have it in his basement or something?
Well, his dad did.
His dad did.
Yeah. This guy that I can't remember his name
The sports writer, right?
is a sports
I'm trying to
writer for the
remember what his name
Chronicle.
is, too.
Can
Yeah.
you Google it, Chris?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the guy's name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Jenkins.
Jenkins.
His dad's name
Yeah.
is Jenkins,
Wow.
Gordon Jenkins. And
Oh,
anyway,
Bruce Jenkins.
Bruce Jenkins.
I
Bruce
used to look it
Jenkins,
up.
that's right.
I
Yep.
didn't
yeah,
look it
I
up.
asked him, I said, how come I know your voice? He goes, I'm on 680 all the time. Oh, I listen to that all the time. And he says, my dad was Bruce Jenkins, and we're, kind of clearing out his house. He's passed away about 10 years ago, and it's time to move on there. And he said, Dad used to have a basement where he used to do all of his work, and he was Judy Garland's arranger. And,
Judy
Oh, wow.
Garland.
For Judy
Yeah.
Garland, that's cool.
and many others.
Nat King Cole, I think you said?
Yeah, he did.
Nat
worked with
King
Nat
Cole.
Nat King Cole.
Wow.
All
He
sang
just-
on that mic.
He
Sammy
dis-
Davis, I think you told me.
Yeah,
yeah.
and he discovered Louis Armstrong.
Crazy.
Whoa.
Oh, there's a
Yep.
fact that drop on us.
Yeah.
Wow.
That guy discovered Louis Armstrong?
Yeah, brought him to the mainstream because he was just in, areas where nobody saw him, and he brought him up to the forefront.
Wow.
Wow.
So he said, when I was a kid, we were living in San Francisco, and the doorbell would ring, and Judy Garland would walk in, go down the stairs, and Doris Day would walk in and go down the stairs, and Frank Sinatra would come in and go down the stairs.
Wow.
So what was happening down there was they were making the demos for their album. So Gordon would play piano, recorded on their little deck with this one mic. It was the only mic that was down there.
That mic.
That mic.
That mic.
Wow.
The one you just saw, yeah.
Man, I've sang on that mic.
Yeah, I have too.
It's
Yeah.
smooth,
Amazing.
yeah.
And so anyway, I asked him how much he wanted for the mic, and he said, I don't know, and gave me a number. And I said, that's too cheap. And I said, just take it for that. He goes, at least I know it has a good home.
Wow.
And I said, well, okay, if you want me to rip you off, if that's okay with you, I'll do it. And he says, and I'll send you a picture and a description of
Wow.
what we just talked
Yeah,
about.
wow.
And the picture was with his dad and Frank Sinatra.
Wow, it's crazy.
That's
and
awesome.
and if I'm not mistaken, you said Barbara Streisand uses that mic.
No.
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 Is
It's another
that
No.
a different mic?
Not many people use that mic. I've seen Karen Carpenter use it. Other
the
ones,
late Karen Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
other ones that we've used, like the 41 and the 49 that you've seen out at the studio, are mics that all
Yeah.
those people use.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to play some name games here. Are you ready? We're going to shoot some stuff at you here, and you tell us the stories behind it. Let's start with Mickey Thomas and Jefferson Starship.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the person that started all those nice sessions that we had in the 80s and 90s and almost into 2000 was a good friend of mine, Mick Gillette, who played
Oh,
with
yeah,
Tower
I
Club.
recognize that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
I remember as a kid watching him play at the Stockton Civic, and he'd be standing there playing his trumpet. He'd set that down and play his trombone. I go, nobody could do that.
Yeah.
And he was great, And one of my early musical heroes. And come to find out, he was living in Lockford.
Wow.
He'd retired from
A
Tower
lot of-
Power. Yeah.
A lot of local people that
People
live
don't
around.
realize, yeah.
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 So I called him. I said, hey, Mick, this is so-and-so at Knacknut Sound. Can you come and play a trumpet on something? And he goes, oh, no, man, I don't play anymore. And I said, you have to play. You're one of the best in the world. And he goes, well, I'm not in practice, but if you want me to come out, I'll come out. And he did. And I met him, and he's just, damn, wow, what's he doing in my studio? This
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, he loved it. It motivated him to start playing again. And he started telling his friends about the studio. He goes, we got this little funky place out in the middle of a field out here. And he goes, it really sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe you should come and do this. So Mickey Thomas and Jefferson Starship was one of the groups that he was in touch with, and they came out and did a demo.
Wow. Okay, here's another one. Huey Lewis and the News. Anybody remember that name?
Oh,
I do,
yeah.
back from the
Oh, yeah.
80s.
Now, Huey Lewis and the News as a name never actually recorded at the studio, but all of them have recorded with me. Huey Lewis sang lead vocal on 2 songs that I did. And the News guys, the drummer and the sax player and all those guys, we all, including myself, did background vocals on those same songs.
Wow.
That's
wow.
cool.
So it was a lot of fun.
Tower of Power. Come on, Stockton. Come on, Oakland. You know that
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Tower of Power
Absolutely.
horns, man.
Yeah.
The world knows that name. I mean,
Yeah.
Now, we did that project under the name of Strokeland Super Band because, the owners of that Tower Power name, only one of them was involved in this. The other guy did come in and sing later.
Interesting.
But it was all the Tower Power guys. In fact, it was some of the original Tower Power guys that had quit the band and now have gone back to the band,
Interesting.
which was really cool.
So are they playing again?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're playing again.
On tour.
Yeah.
Wow. Here's another
Wow.
one, Chicago. Chicago.
Well, I never worked with the group per se, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the members, Bill Champlin, I worked with and sang with.
Okay, he's the guy I wanted to bring up. Isn't he the Saturday Night Live guy? Is that
No.
different guy?
No, he was with Chicago for
Okay.
25 years.
Okay. All right.
I got to sing with him. It's like being a musician and a singer yourself. You got to know how crazy that is. You're standing
It is.
in a mic with a guy that probably done as many background vocals as Michael McDonald,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're singing with him, and you just notice how fast those guys are.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like the hurricane starts, you got to keep
Yeah.
up.
Working with Crystal Murden was that way.
Really?
The voice of Lion King.
Yeah.
I mean, we brought her in for Pastor Hooks, Bishop
Mm-hmm.
Robert Hooks brought her in. Very good friends. He's the one introduced us to Andre Crouch as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in the studio, and I agree with you. It's like she just would hear it, and she just knew what to
Yeah.
do, and she just would just grab those harmonies, and
Yep.
it was just perfectly
You know what
tightly.
surprised me about her
Professionals.
singing too is that she didn't come in and scream. She came in and just goes. I was thinking, is
Well,
she gonna?
the pros
is she-
don't really,
I was
do
thinking,
they?
is she gonna turn the volume up? And she's like, no, that's my tone. The mic, the people behind the board.
Was
will
that
fix
your experience with him, that he just kind of knew what the volume levels and all that?
I'll tell you what he did. He comes in, I met him, said hi, one of my heroes again, and somebody handed him the words. And somebody said, could you play that demo for Bill? And he goes, yeah. So he listened to it once. And I said, would you like to hear that again, Bill? And he goes, no, let's cut it.
Wow, that fast.
Wow.
He was that fast.
He went out there and cut it in the first take.
Wow.
Of course.
And you can hear him just as a joke. And I left it in the fade out of the tune. I had to leave it. You can hear him say, check, please.
That is so.
That's
Oh,
funny.
my.
Cha-ching.
He knew he was done.
That
Yeah.
is funny. So he was a harmony guy and a vocal guy.
He was in Chicago for a long time. He also wrote the song, or co-wrote the song, After the Love Is Gone.
So
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
who
Oh, wow.
who was the guy that you were telling me about with the? I think we have a picture of him with the saxophone that was involved with Saturday Night Live, and he's like the horn or whatever.
That's Lenny
Horn
Pickett.
player.
There he is.
Lenny Pickett.
There's
Absolutely.
Lenny.
Oh,
He came in and played on the Strokeland session, and they flew him in from New York, and he was fantastic. Just what I had heard.
And he still works and plays, right?
He's
For
the
SNL,
band leader.
yeah.
He's the
He's the
band
band-
leader
yeah.
for Saturday Night Live.
That's phenomenal.
The band leader for Saturday Night Live.
Now,
Go ahead.
I got a name that I don't think is on the list for all of us rock fans out there. What about Tesla?
Hey,
Yep, we did that. Whatever the year was, the Tesla had recorded in New York at Bearsville, and they were done, and they came up with a new song called "Love Song" that they wanted to put on their album, and Bearsville was already booked out, so they couldn't do it. So I did some intro work on the beginning of that song, and that is a platinum album now. So
wow, platinum,
hanging
platinum.
up in the studio.
Where are they
That's
now? Do you know?
phenomenal.
Last I saw them, they just did a live broadcast from Abbey Road Studios.
So
Wow.
that
Really?
album
Yep.
you
Yep.
recorded on became platinum,
Yeah,
and your name is on that.
it is.
He's
Yeah, Rick.
got- he's got
Come
the-
on.
Yeah.
If you're not a musician, you may not know what that means, but your name to be on a platinum, that's a big deal. That's
It
pretty
is.
cool.
He's
And-
got the platinum record hanging in.
And I want to challenge some of our younger students today, because
Yeah.
we're talking about a lot of 80s and 90s artists,
Go look it up.
to look these people up.
Fact
Listen,
check.
Huey Lewis and the News was a big deal
Yeah, that-
back
Yep.
in the day, as was Tower of Power Horns. Anybody from Oakland, anyone
Right.
Anybody gonna know?
that's in R&B, even
yeah.
black gospel, they would
Oh, yeah.
recognize those names of Tower of Power Horns. These guys were bad to the bone,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they still, some
They
of those,
still are.
they
Yeah.
are
Still
still
good.
are. What was the name of the horn player that worked with us on the session that was the trombone player?
That was Mike Rinta.
Mike Renta.
And he's off of the chain just a little bit in that he was best friends with Mick, and they used to play together. Mick would play trumpet and Mike would play trombone. So that's how I found him. Last time I looked on Mike's Facebook, he was playing at Madison Square Garden with Eric Clapton.
A beast.
Oh, my
This guy is
goodness.
a beast.
Yeah.
Man, I'm talking crazy. Okay, but now it seems to me that he was traveling and touring with the brother of the guitar player. You know, I'm talking about
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother, right?
Jimmy Vaughn, yeah.
Yeah,
Jimmy
Jimmy. Is he
Vaughn
still
band.
doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an honor, man. You introduced us to all these people. And through the years, I want to thank you because you
Oh,
have
yeah.
introduced me to some of the Valley's and really the world's
Yeah.
greatest horn players.
Well, it's an honor for me to get to work with those people and to get them to work with anybody else, because I remember when I was a kid, I was looking at albums back when we had albums and there was people's names on them and stuff, which they should bring back. And I used to look at the producers and why do they always use this drummer? Why do they always?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Now we know.
Now you know.
Because they were the best, and you know what Steve Gadd is going to do on the drum, so you
Yeah.
call him. So,
Yeah.
and Mike is one of those people, and you know what you're going to get, and it's just fantastic.
Talk about drummers real quick. I know it's not in our notes, but who do you think, in your opinion, is one of the greatest drummers that have been in your studio and such?
Yeah.
And Joel's prodding you right
Joel.
now. To try to,
Joel.
I was going to say something about Joel first because
Okay.
because I've known Joel since he's been little.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first situations that we had a chance to work together wasn't so good.
Right.
And it was tough, and Joel had a tough day, I had a tough day, and everybody had a tough day.
Yeah.
And Joel and I got to talk quite a bit. And what?
I'm just laughing because
Joel's
I'm
face.
trying to figure out where this is going. I'm
me
listening.
too. I'm going
Look at the
Look
picture.
at the picture.
like we're
Rick,
going down
Rick
a
and I have
long
spent
hallway.
but before you finish, we have spent countless hours in the studio, and so I'm laughing because I don't know where he's going with this.
Yeah,
But go
me
ahead.
neither, but we're going to
Go ahead.
listen. Take us.
Well, I just had, for whatever it was worth at the time, especially, because I don't want to act like I know everything, because I don't. And first person to tell you that would be Jackie. But she's right. I
We
mean, I
love
don't,
you, Jackie, if you're
Yes,
listening.
right.
We love you.
But Joel has come so far
Yeah.
since
Yes.
those days.
Thank you.
And he is one of the best drummers I know now.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Rick.
Wow.
Thank you.
I would
He is-
beg to differ. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, he has come so far since just a few years ago. And it's I mean, this last session that we did live, I'm going, he's
Yeah.
stirring the soup with those brushes. I didn't even know he knew how to play brushes.
Yeah, he
Thanks,
has
Rick.
really.
Yeah, that was
and
great.
I know that we had a few people come through, and I won't name drop, but some very well-known people who tried to hire him to go on the road. I think even Andre mentioned you touring with him. at
He's
one
solid.
point.
He's solid.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you.
really is. But beyond Joel, beyond our inner circle, who do you think? Because drummer, that's the main instrument. People don't realize when you're laying down a project, you got to get those drums right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, the people that I've gotten to work with in the studio were David Garibaldi from Tower Power.
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That's
David
awesome.
Garibaldi.
If
Yeah.
you're a drummer out there and you don't know who that is,
Then you're not a drummer.
just go pull out a pair of drumsticks that you have in your bag. His name is on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Is that the drum head that you have in there? Was that his drum head? The one that you have hanging up in
Yeah.
autograph?
And it was really funny, too, if you don't mind me telling a story about the first time I worked with him. As I'm hiring him, okay? I'm hiring him. Okay, great. He goes, Rick, this is Dave. What kind of heads you use on your drums? And I said, pinstripes. That was the one we were using back then. And he goes, oh, good, because that's what I want to use. And he says, what size drums do you have? And I told him, and he goes, those are perfect. Those are the ones I use.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, if I didn't have that, he was going to make me change the drum heads and all that. I mean, I'm hiring you, buddy. And that's, that these guys get so into this stuff. So he comes in my door, and I got his set up as close as I think he's going to need it. And I'm going, let's look, it's Dave Garibaldi. He doesn't say a thing. He takes out a stick, sits down at the drum set, starts playing. I'm standing in front of him. And he stops, and he goes, who tuned these drums?
Who tuned these drums?
I said, I did. He goes, good job, man.
Oh, really?
nice.
Wow.
Now we can say hi.
Now we
So
can say,
now
yeah.
we can say hi. Wow. So let's move on from drummers.
Wait, 2 seconds. I got to ask this as a drummer. How many pieces did you have on the drums?
Was
Was it the full set?
5 piece,
5
3
piece.
toms.
How many cymbals? Do you remember?
No, but I have to tell you a massively funny story with him. And we were always worked well together, but we were never friends. Anyway, they came in and did the Strokeland album, and he was using these Peisty cymbals. And they were just terrible. I hated them. I mean, I've listened to Dave ever since I was a little kid play.
Yeah.
And he's got these trashy sounding, junky sounding, no definition cymbals, and I'm just like, oh gosh, this is terrible. So I tell Rocco, who was the bass player for Tower, one day before Dave got there. I said, Rocco, what's with Dave's cymbals? He goes, what do you mean, man? I said, they sound terrible. There's no definition. They're real trashy sounding. He goes, why don't you tell him? I said, yeah, I'm going to tell Dave Garibaldi his cymbals are not good.
Yeah.
So we had the whole day, and it was a good day. Next day, sliding glass door opens in the control room, and he goes, so you don't like my cymbals, huh?
Oh, man.
I'm going, oh, no. So I went out there and I said, no, I've been listening to you for so long, and the concept of your sound and your playing. And he goes, maybe I don't want to sound like that anymore, man.
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay.
Was he messing with you?
Kind of. So
Yeah.
let's fast forward 2 years. I'm at NAM, which is
What is NAM? People
National
need to know.
Association of Music Merchants show.
And
Yeah.
Rick,
Yeah,
Rick
yeah.
promised he's taking me next year, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. We're gonna all drive there because he hates to fly. That's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
other.
yeah.
I
subject.
can fly.
Do you
I can
still
fly.
are you still eligible to get tickets to NAMM?
I can get them through the store.
Oh,
Come
okay.
on,
Right,
buddy.
we're there.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
So
there.
it's like I call it Disneyland for musicians.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that is sold for musicians is there.
Yeah.
So I'm in the Sabian booth, which is a major cymbal
Oh
company.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm looking at it right there. It says David Garibaldi signature cymbals. Okay, give me a cymbal. Give me a stick. So I try them, and the right cymbal, it's super clean. Everything's just. I'm going, this is great. And I get a tap on the shoulder, and he goes, "What do you think, man?" It's Dave Garibaldi.
Oh wow.
I said, "You finally got it right."
he remembered you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You finally
That's
got it
funny.
right.
And we've been kind of friends ever since then.
Wow,
'cause-
That's cool.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. You know, this type of a podcast isn't everybody's cup of tea, but we're all musicians,
Right.
And it's been crazy. It's almost like this week. It's like God ordained this to be the
Right,
week that we're
yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
music.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's I know this. There is not a person out here that's listening to this podcast or watching us today who loves music that does not wish they could record their own
Sure.
project.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And Rick
Oh,
is
yeah.
gifted. Rick helped me greatly understand, even when I was, before I was surrounded by the Time Warner guys, and before I met the guys from Integrity and Columbia Music, and I'm trying to think all the Atlantic Records. Before I met those guys, you kind of helped me understand, recording. And it's not like you can come in there and you don't have to be intimidated, So take a second and just talk to some people who may, for example, want to record their song and they're afraid to come in the studio,
Well, the studio is actually a tremendously creative place to go.
Yeah.
And there should be no fear going into a studio, because if you bring creativity and a focus of what you want to do, and you've got good music, it's just about raw creativity after that. Throwing around ideas and creating and instrumentation and mixing and textures and and all those things. And I don't think there can be anything better, although I don't write, to make your own music come alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what's some instructions you would give someone who's watching today, a young lady, a young man who has a song and they want to come in the studio? What would you tell them? Like, in other words, the prep before they come in. What's some of the things they need to think about doing before they come in to see someone like you?
Well, always, of course, make sure you have a song that's
Ready.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or one you at least think is great?
Yeah, and in my situation, I always like to feel like I'm a tour guide. Listen to the song and tell me what you think, and let's go there. And a lot of the technical stuff isn't important to know.
Because that's your job.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. I have people all the time say, "Why don't you use this kind of mic here?" And where'd you read that on the internet? That's not important.
Right.
But just be creative and make a song come alive. And
I'd add probably know your stuff right before you come in. Don't come
Yeah.
to rehearse. Rehearse before you come, right?
There's
Yeah.
nothing like preparation on anything you do, whether it's recording or writing or playing an instrument, because the recording studio is the wrong place to not be prepared.
Well, time is money there, at a studio.
Yeah.
Normally, so.
But money well worth, well
Absolutely.
spent, because I'm telling
Absolutely.
you, you can touch more people through a recording. And people
Oh,
don't
man.
think about this. You sing a song one time on the internet, you may get a few viewers.
Right.
Once you record something,
Yeah.
and it's timeless.
Yep.
Once you record it, people will listen to it in every time zone around the world, especially if it catches on, and it will outlive you. You'll be singing long after you're gone. I tell people all the time, what do you got to lose? If you got a song, come out, record it, try it,
Yeah.
put it out
We
there.
were talking about this a few weeks ago on the podcast too. That
there we are.
some video,
There we are
more
doing our-
pictures.
Look at that guy in the background.
We were talking about some of the stuff.
Oh, there's the face.
We're talking about.
Yeah, which one?
Oh man,
We were
that's-
talking about
yeah.
some of the
Oh, man.
some of the recordings that, of course, we've been raised with, but the ability to capture the anointing. That you can turn Andre Crouch on today,
Yeah.
right now, and it
Still
could
feel-
move your heart, and you start crying because you feel the presence of
the
God
same anointing
from the
that was
70s,
in the
man.
studio.
Yeah.
From the 70s,
Hey,
man.
as a matter of
because
fact,
you can capture that.
It's a long way gone.
And I mean, that's what makes what you do so important.
My wife and I, when we were preparing for that, when I was preparing and practicing the Andre Crouch songs that we did, my wife and I were worshiping while I was listening on YouTube
Right.
and trying to play it on the bass. And
Yeah.
those songs are
I think
40
we-
years old.
Yeah, no, it's timeless. You're right. It's
Absolutely.
absolutely timeless. That's a very good point. And so people need to understand that when you record, a lot of folks don't think about this. You're not just capturing a song, you're actually capturing someone's soul. You're capturing
Wow.
their spirit.
Yeah.
And
I
what's
think
coming out.
I think we caught a lot of that on the Friday service.
Oh,
Yeah,
we did
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Good Friday. That's one of the most viewed, multi-thousands, and it's going up.
Yeah. I think jail said we're headed towards 6,000 between
No,
all of our different
it's
accounts.
over. That's just one. That's a Facebook.
Just one video.
feed,
Yeah,
you know.
Facebook,
Right,
YouTube, the
yeah.
app. We have a lot of different ways
But
to watch
every
it.
day it just grows and gets larger and larger and larger. So what you do, people don't realize what someone does in a studio is they do more than record. They're capturing the essence of a message and something that people are wanting
great way
to
to put it.
share. So okay, here we go. Here's some names that people that are over 50 are going to remember. I got to do this. Neil Sedaka.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
People
yeah.
I
don't
didn't know
realize
that.
Neil Sedaka
Yeah.
was one of the greatest songwriters in the
Yeah.
world.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right. So how was you connected with Neil somehow or another, right?
It was
of
a
God
union thing for me. I got to play a lot of union things. In fact, most of the people I've played with that are, out of the local realm have been union jobs because I'm
Wow.
a union. We have to be in the union to be in the symphony.
And,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and okay, here's my all-time
That
favorite.
leads to another.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
more questions.
you're probably going to thinking about this one too. What's the great singer? My wife loves her. Great jazz singer. He's from the Sinatra age, and
Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett. You played with Tony, right?
No, we opened for him.
You opened
wow.
up for him.
Who
But
did we-
didn't you play in the symphony for him one time?
well,
or you have
we-
before?
No.
You definitely got a story because I heard a story about.
You're supposed to
meeting
say
him.
yes. You should have
Okay,
just said
yeah.
yes. yeah.
I saw him.
Yeah. There you go.
We were playing with, I forget her name, the little girl singer that was on. Is her name there?
I don't know if it's on there or not.
Jackie Vanko, right there.
Oh yeah.
She was tremendous, by the way. I don't know if you remember
Marie-
that little gal.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Marie Osmond.
Oh no,
That's another one though. You met. You
I met her, yeah.
Yeah, met her. Maria
she
Osmond.
watched us play.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we have a
That's cool.
picture. I think you have a picture of her there. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
Yeah.
she looks good.
Hey, she looks
looking
great, man, for
Yeah.
her age.
Hey, that guy's handsome too, all right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's about the same age. It's not going as well for me.
the Italian stallion right there, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. He is the man in my estimation.
Absolutely.
But
Wow,
yeah, that was Jackie Vanko, and we were opening up for Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett is the most. You know that Jordana and I saw him before the first of the year. It might have been last year.
And he's still great.
93
Yeah.
years old.
He
And
can still
listen,
sing.
every lyric this guy pulled off, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 14, 15, 16 songs.
Live.
Wow.
That was great.
And every lyric, there's like one hang up. In the middle of the show, he starts sneezing and could not stop sneezing. His fifth sneeze, everyone, of course, at his age is going, Jesus, Jesus. They're doing Hail Marys because they're praying he don't, go meet his maker in the middle
story
of it.
about that, and I heard him tell that story that night that we played open for him. He said, Frank used to love my voice. It was one of the few people that he loved
Frank
to listen
Sinatra.
to. Sinatra, yeah. And he said, hey, kid, because he was quite 20 years younger, why don't you come to the studio with me and watch how we do this sometime? And he goes, yeah, sure, Frank. And so they go down to the studio and come on in. So Frank steps into the booth. They cut it, one take, and Frank gets his coat, walks out, gets into his car. Tony's following him out. He goes, that's how you do it, kid.
And got in the car and left. That's
done.
classic Frank
Yep.
Sinatra. That is crazy. Well, man, I'm telling you what, I don't think we have enough time to go over all the people. I see these names like Barry Manilow. They got to know that name.
Well, we played one show with him, and I was able to do, I think, one of my favorite gigs was with Carol Channing, if you older people remember her.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
Carol Channing.
Did an album with her and did a couple shows with her. She was phenomenal. I just couldn't understand sitting on stage with her and watching somebody that couldn't dance and couldn't sing and just grabbed an audience for 2.5 hours and said, come with me.
Yeah, she had charisma, man.
Yeah.
She had the ability to bring an audience in and connect with them in a way that a lot of actresses and a lot of singers could
Yeah.
not do. She had that.
And she
that
was
gift.
she was a real super sweet person. She had this gorgeous, her pictures of her from her whole career. And I told her my mom and dad were coming to see her because they had seen her in 1963 in Vegas. And after the show, it was probably the last time I was going to see Carol. She said, come here, will you please? And I went into her dressing room, and she wrote on her book. And she said, here, give that to your mom and dad.
Wow.
And I brought it out to my mom and dad. They were in the lobby, and they
Wow.
opened it up. And my mom goes, how much did you pay her for that?
Wow.
And I said, what? What does it say? And she goes, thanks, Bob and Agnes, for having such a cool son.
That's nice.
Oh.
Wow. Well,
I
go
thought
ahead.
that was really
Yeah.
Let me
nice.
ask you this too. You said you did some recording in New York in your younger years. Is that right? Or you studied in New York,
I studied in Connecticut, yeah.
in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to study with Gary Carr, who at the time in that era, 80s, he was the best bass player in the world.
Well, I'll tell you that I'll say two things, two separate things. Number one, I've told people that did not know me. I was in the studio sessions and I was meeting other musicians, and I've mentioned your name, and they knew who you were. And these are Hollywood musicians. Some of these guys from New York, some of these guys from the East Coast. And I mentioned you, and they said,
Same here.
yeah, Northern California. They say between L.A. and the Bay. He goes, yeah, I know who that is, Rick Duncan. They have known you, and I've been able to drop so I appreciate that.
There is something to getting to be this age that, if you hang around long enough.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
second thing with this is you could be useless to anyone else, but I thought it was interesting. You said you met, was it Tiny Tim? Tiptoe through the tulips. What's his name?
Tiny
Tiny
Tim.
Tim?
Way
Yeah.
back.
So you said you've met him before? Is that right?
Well, on the streets of New York, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody
Yeah.
Google his name. You guys will be tripped
Yeah,
out.
Tiny-
He's a trippy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a trippy.
I was going to say, for this generation, you're going to have to do a little homework, but
Yeah.
it will be really worth it. It's like when we
Yeah.
had Father Peter
Peter
on,
on, sure, yeah.
talking about his mom and Andy Mayberry. Rick has got a connection like deep into Oakland,
yeah.
a lot of horn players, a lot of drummers, a lot of well-known bass players, which, by the way, who are your favorite bass players besides obvious? I know you don't like to hear yourself play, but
Well,
you're
the best
amazing.
The best was Jaco Pastorius, and everybody should look that guy up. I remember when I dropped the needle on the first cut of his first album, everybody went, uh-oh, the bass has changed today. And
What's that mean? What do you mean?
He
Yeah.
just changed the instrument.
Kind of like when they
Oh, he
Yeah.
changed the instrument.
It was never the same
Jeez.
after
first.
him.
It's just like Jimi Hendrix. The
Jimi
first
Hendrix.
time-
The guitar.
He
first
was
time-
our Jimi Hendrix, yeah.
The first
Yeah.
time Eric
Yeah.
Clapton ever heard Jimi
Wow.
Hendrix.
That's a big compliment.
The
Yeah.
first time Eric Clapton ever heard Jimi Hendrix play, he looked at somebody and he said, "This guy's putting us all out of business."
Yeah. And there were a
No
lot of great
kidding.
ones. James Jamerson, who played all the Motown stuff, and Carol Kay, who I got to meet, that played on all the Wrecking Crew stuff for the Beach Boys and
Oh, yeah.
TV, MASH, and Bonanza, and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Her, Stanley Clark, There's a lot.
You
of great
mentioned
ones.
Stanley Clark earlier.
Yeah.
Now, the name, I know that name. He was a big deal, right?
Yeah, he was a great electric guitar and upright bass jazz player, and he played with Chick Corea in that group. They were
Wow.
You know,
fantastic.
and Rick's a very, again, kind of a humble guy, and like a lot of guys like Glenn,
Like
we had on
Glenn.
this
Like
week,
Glenn
they
said,
don't- yeah,
Glenn told us he wouldn't have a personality.
yeah, and Glenn, Glenn, he just
Like
in the,
amazing.
in the side
Yeah.
of his, out of his breath. Oh yeah, I worked with Snoop Dogg, and oh yeah, Whitney Houston. Like he doesn't even want to mention it, but Rick has worked with even a lot more people than that. We're having to pull it out of him, but very talented guy. Very glad to have you on today.
Well,
Yeah.
Glenn, I'm sure, told you that he got to work with one of my favorite people of all time, David Foster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about
We
that.
learned so much about him this week.
Yeah.
A true writer, a true visionary in a lot of ways. Visionary in terms of music and all that. And
One of the
what
most,
an artist.
One of the most beautiful pop piano players you've ever heard, too.
Can you explain why he's such a big deal? Because we've looked him up, and of course the show was great on Tuesday. But why is he such a big deal?
In your estimation, because
Yeah.
you're a producer,
Right.
You're your technician.
Every time I hear him play, it's just the perfect thing. I mean, there's something too. He's the one that taught me, even though I don't play piano, taught me how important voicings are, and just the way he plays the instrument. And then, of course, he arranges like crazy. His arrangements are incredible. He's somebody really, really special.
Wow.
Well, listen, we're about out of time. I want to just, before we go, two more things I want to talk about. I want to go back to the studio for a second.
Okay.
NACNED Studio. People, I've been telling people this is actually a very excellent time. If somebody, I know you've been like busier than busy out there, but I know you have sometimes opened up. How would somebody get a hold of you if they want to record a project or they want to do a demo or come out and just try their deal,
Well, you can look at the website. Jordan built the website for me and did an excellent job. It's nacnudsound.com.
Spell that for us.
NACNUD.
And where does that come from? Your dad? You have a story about your dad about that, don't
Yeah,
you?
1984, I did my first business card, and I gave him a copy of it, and he says, "What's a NACNUD?" And I said, "That's your name backwards, Dad." And he goes,
Donkey.
"Oh, that's ridiculous."
Yeah, NACNED Studio. Is NACNED.com?
nacnudsound.com.
Oh, yeah, NACNEDsound.com. And the thing about that, NACNUD, NACNUD, sound.com. And if somebody wants to record it, what's the process? They have to, call, phone call? What's it start with?
Phone's
Email?
there. They can email. They can PayPal. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
Awesome.
real reasonable rates. We
Oh, yeah.
record
yeah.
out there all the time, and you and I have partnered with projects,
Yep.
over the years, done some amazing things. Tell us about, Rick, when you really rededicated your life to the Lord, and tell us a little bit of that story. I know that kind of had to do with some with Beyontalon, huh? A little bit somewhere in there.
Well, it was a run up to that. I mean, there were several people that came into my life at certain times, and I was over at Lakeview at the time.
Sure, Lakeview Assembly.
Yeah, and I had some friends that I had been friends with for a long time, and they signed me back up. I was going there just to have something to do,
Wow.
and I was playing in the band and all that, and then finally they all got serious on me, and I thought, oh, this is great. So it was
Just start talking to you about the Lord and
Yeah.
your relationship,
Old-
because
old
you're from a Catholic background, like a lot of
Exactly.
our folks.
Yeah.
Are. Yeah.
Mhm.
That had to be a little bit of a shift and a change.
It was. And there was even a moment in the studio that kind of did something too that was really, really unusual. And for anybody that ever says they haven't heard from God, I was one of them, and I wasn't happy about it. I said, geez, everybody else is hearing from him. How come I'm not?
Oh, yeah.
I'm out there one day doing this heavy metal band, and, the singer sounded like he was, drinking Comet for breakfast. And I was going,
Yeah, I know you're talking about grunge.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
incredibly.
Yeah, that like heavy dark metal, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
And something hit me that day and said, this is not what I've given you this for.
This is not what I gave you this gift for.
Yeah, I don't want you to
Wow.
do this anymore.
Wow.
And I'm going, are you listening to this?
Wow.
And
What did you do?
I spun the tape off, put it in a box, and handed it to him. I said, I can't do this, guys.
Session over.
I'm done.
Wow.
And they
well,
were ready
we
to tear.
won't say
they
their
were-
name, but
No, they
obviously-
were ready to tear the place apart. And I'm going, I'm just sorry, you don't understand.
just can't do this.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I probably would have waited till the rage went down a little bit.
So basically what you're telling me is it sounds like it's obviously a very personal moment, but as people begin to come into your life and witness to you, I know that Sister Beatrice Antolon had a real great place in your life. Of course, you and I met and began to pray together and that kind of thing. Was there a defining moment in there where you just said, Lord, I'm just going to give it to you, you know?
That was probably it. I mean,
Really?
when God talks to you,
Yeah.
you better listen.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, I'd already been saved by then also, but it's like he's going, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Wow. So you gave your heart to the Lord, and then that, like you were basically, to pare it back, you're saying, Lord, you're talking to everyone else. Why aren't you talking to me? And that's the way he introduced himself. It's like, I didn't call you to record this kind of music.
Yep.
Wow. Well, Nat Nude Studios, go ahead, sir.
Well, we've all known each other for quite a while now, and don't get the wrong idea. I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect.
Well,
Right.
Nobody is.
But
Nobody is.
that was the time that said, you need to go on the other side.
Yeah.
So work on the other side now. So
Well, Rick, I tell you, our family loves you.
Absolutely.
Jordana and I are in love with you and Jackie. I don't say that patronizingly. You know, it comes from my heart. All of our sons who, of course, serve in the capacity of your pastors as well. And our relationship is one that is very, very special. You are one gifted dude.
Absolutely.
And I know you hate to hear that, but we all very, very much appreciate what you do here
yeah,
at
big
West
time.
Coast and our sound departments
Yep.
and what we do on a personal basis away from here, you know, in the studio. And I would encourage everyone that's watching or listening to us today that might want to get involved with the recording. Rick would be a great person to talk to. Joel, you want to add anything before we go out of here today?
You know, I just want to say that our life's been enriched by you, Rick, and I
Absolutely.
mean that. And you know, everything Bishop said, I tag on top of that. You know, quite a few years back, when I called you and said, you know, would you consider coming and doing the sound for the church? I think you told me no at first, but I kept calling you, and you know. And it's been an absolute gift for us to be
it's
able,
been a
not
blessing.
just to do sound, but you've played with the band and worshiped. We've worshiped together, and we're better for it. Love you, man.
me also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we go off the air today, you still have that fear of flying? Have you got over that yet, sir?
I wouldn't say I'm over
You know
it,
I couldn't get off the air to that advance. I had to
I was hoping he
mention
wasn't
that.
going to mention that. But
I had to mention it.
Yeah.
Rick, you know, I play the bass here at the church, and Rick is a amazing bass player. And every time I get off stage when we're done, I always go, Rick's the first person I find. I say, how'd I do? I respect your opinion. I respect you. Richard, as I call him, just to mess with him.
So my mom calls me when she's angry.
Right. And yeah, same thing, man. Love you, man. Love you. I
Appreciate it.
I enjoy being around you, man. Yeah.
He's doing great too.
Yeah, I heard he's going to get a few lessons and
Absolutely.
get a little.
We're gonna have fun together.
Yeah. Oh,
Rick,
yeah,
Rick,
yeah.
I'll tell the story. He looks at me and goes, when we were doing the thing on Good Friday, him and I were talking a little bit afterwards. And he goes, man, you should take lessons with me. I can fix you. Well, because I'm self-taught,
Rick,
right?
Yeah,
Rick
right.
the fixer
And
and
he
the
goes-
and the finisher.
He goes, you have the same skill level that I do. You just need to learn da-da-da-da-da. He goes, there's nothing that I play that you can't play. And I go, are you sure about that, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I like that name because I know that we had the project that we started, of course, at Bishop Robert Hooks's in his studio. It's a
Wings
great
of
studio.
Silver.
Yep.
Yeah, Wings of Silver, and I will forever be grateful to Bishop Hooks, and I know that we'll work together more in the future. But had to come back here because we're driving back and forth 2.5, 3 hours each way.
Right.
Yep.
And Rick picked up that project in the middle and helped us take that all the way home, of course, with the help of the one and only David Huff.
Oh yeah.
David.
in Georgia, playing the guitar and different things, and connected us. And so Rick is a great, no matter where you are in your life in terms of recording, he's a great person to connect with,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we just really appreciate you today. So
Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
It's just fun. You
Come
know,
back again.
all the times I've been playing in front of thousands of people, and this was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
well,
this
we're
is
going to
fun.
have to come back on a separate day and talk about the fear of flying and how to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
beyond it. And
please.
that'll be for another
just
program.
for
But
one
Please.
program.
Yeah.
anyway, everybody, we're going to sign out today. Thank you,
All right,
Joel,
guys.
for letting me be in this
Oh, thank you,
driver's seat.
guys.
We
It's
love
fun.
you, Rick. Oh,
Yeah, right.
You all right, Rick? You all right, Rick?
That's a
You
Russian
okay?
plane, by the way.
that is not even right.
That's a
anyway.
Russian
That's cold blooded.